Dear students, today I'll discuss European monetary system. As I explained in the international monetary system also, that the countries all over the world realized after Second World War that if they were to survive and flourish, then they need to have a feeling of cooperation, and not just a feeling of cooperation but actual cooperation between the countries, especially on the economic front, was required, because that was the only thing which could revive them and which could take out them from the destruction which was caused to those economies. And the belief that the economic power is an important as political and military power was also there. So, there have been various efforts made by nations to promote economic cooperation, and it was the result of these efforts, these cooperative behavior between the economies, that European monetary system originated. So, what is European monetary system? Actually, while discussing this topic, we'll be concentrating on two parts. One is European monetary system, and second is economic integration, because actually European monetary system is a part of economic integration. As you can easily interpret the thing, economic integration, that means when the economies decide to integrate, and how they are going to integrate, this could be on different fronts, that could be political, that could be financial, that we'll be doing later. So first of all, we'll discuss European monetary system. So, European monetary system is an arrangement which was established in 1979, and where most of the nations of the European Economic Community linked their currencies to prevent large fluctuations relative to one another. And keep this thing in mind, this was a cooperation. This measure was adopted by, finally it came into existence, this measure was adopted by the European countries. After the collapse of Bretton Woods system in 1971, most of the countries, European Union countries, agreed in 1972 to maintain stable exchange rate by preventing exchange rate fluctuation of more than 2.25%. Actually, this 2.25% is the same which I explained you in the Smithsonian agreement, because this came into existence after the Bretton Woods system. So, finally, in March 1979, this system, the Smithsonian system, was replaced by European monetary system. So, you can easily understand this thing, that the European monetary system was the result of the Smithsonian agreement. So, it originated to stabilize inflation between European countries. And in 1999, a unified currency, euro, came into existence. So, but it was not a one time action. The decision to cooperate between the countries was a long term decision. I mean, the discussions were taking place between the countries over the years. So here is a view of the stages toward economic cooperation. As you can see here, that in 1947 there was formation of custom union between Belgium, Netherlands and Luxembourg, and it was called Benelux. If you see it carefully, the name came into existence with the initial letters of all the countries. Then in 1948, there was Organization of Economic Cooperation was set up. In 1952, there was signing of Treaty of Paris between six nations. 1957, signing of Treaty of Rome. 1992, Maastricht Treaty signed and resulted in extended political cooperation. And then 1993, European Community was named as European Union, and in 1999, Euro came into existence. So this is the journey how European monetary system came into existence. Now, coming directly to European Monetary Union, European monetary system. European Monetary Union officially stands for Economic and Monetary Union. It is the agreement among the participating member states of European Union to adopt a single hard currency and monetary system. Because at that time, undue competition, or there were many fluctuations which were taking place between the European countries. So they decided that instead of having separate currencies, this competition or these fluctuations could be avoided if they have a single currency. So that is why the European Council agreed to name this single European currency as euro. So in 1971 the United States decided to abolish the fixed link between dollar and the official price of gold. So ultimately this has put an end to the system of fixed exchange rate system. This also I explained you in earlier lecture. So with a view to set up their own monetary union, European Union countries decided to prevent exchange fluctuations, high fluctuations. So this led to the creation of European monetary system, which came into force in March 1979, and there were three components of this European monetary system. That is, the first one is the reference currency. The reference currency is called, which was a basket. The reference currency was made up of a basket of currencies of all the member countries. That means the countries which became the member of European Union, they contributed their currency, and this was called reference currency. Then exchange rate mechanism. Each country had an exchange rate linked to a European system, and exchange rate fluctuations were allowed to be to the extent of 2.25%, because the countries decided to have a par value of their currency. So and if there could be any fluctuations beyond the limit of 2.25%, this was restricted. Then there was prevention, there was intervention of the central bank. Then is third thing is credit mechanism. Each country transferred 20% of its currency and gold reserves to a joint fund. The European Investment Bank provided short-term to medium credit to a BOP deficit. That means if any country had any country means the participating countries had any BOP deficit, that then the funds were provided by the European Investment Bank. Then in 1988, the President of European Commission chaired a committee which proposed the establishment of a European Central Bank and a single currency that could replace national currency. If you see at this slide, this is the transition to monetary union. This is a three-stage transition. If you look at this, this is a Maastricht Treaty which was based on a convergence criteria. This point I'll explain in the next slide in detail, that what were the components of this treaty. Then there's led to the Stability and Growth Pact, and then as I explained that European Central Bank came into existence, and finally European Monetary Union. This is the three-stage transition. So this Maastricht Treaty was signed with the setup, the conditions that each member state in the European Union must meet before it could join EMU. So this treaty, this Maastricht Treaty, established a criteria which each participating country was required to follow. What was that criteria? This is explained here. Just have a look at this. So in 1998, most member countries met most of this criteria. What were the conditions? Look at this. This is price stability. This is related to inflation rate. So the inflation rate could not be more than 1.5 percentage points above the average rate of Europe's three lowest inflation nations. I'm just repeating this thing, that this is the criteria for any country to become a part of the European Union, to become a part of the European monetary system. So what was it? I'll just repeat it. Price stability. Because the very purpose of the European monetary system to come into existence was to avoid fluctuations. I'm saying this thing again and again so that you can link what I am explaining to you with the basic purpose. So the purpose was to avoid the fluctuations, ताकि वो member countries के बीच में fluctuations ना आए. So undoubtedly यहाँ पे किस चीज़ पे स्ट्रेस है? प्राइस स्टेबिलिटी पे. एंड प्राइस का लेना देना होता है इन्फ्लेशन के साथ. सो the inflation rate could not be more than 1.5% average of the three nations with the lowest inflation rate. Second is, this is called sustainable public finance. Government debt could be no more than 60% of gross domestic product. This also you can easily understand, because if the government debt is going to be very much higher, then they cannot take sustainable measures. I mean, they cannot save the resources for the coming projects or coming generations. So government debt need to be less than 60% of GDP. Then next is durability. Durability of convergence. Long-term interest rate could be no more than 2 percent points higher than the average interest rate in the three lowest inflation nations. Just understand this. Long-term interest rates could be no more than, or you can say it should be less than 2 points higher than the average interest rate in the lowest inflation nations. So interest rate पे भी एक लिमिट लगा दी गई. Then is sound public finance. The government budget deficit could not exceed 3% of GDP. So if you look at all these conditions or all these criteria, what they depict, they simply show that although it was meant to avoid the fluctuations, but the countries also need to fulfill certain criteria so as to avoid the situation of any financial crunches. ये ना हो कि nations उसमें participate कर दें और उसके बाद उनकी ही फाइनेंशियल कंडीशन बाद में ठीक ना हो. सो दे कुड नॉट मेक यूरोपियन मॉनेटरी सिस्टम सक्सेसफुल. नाउ let's just talk about why European Monetary Union or European system came into existence. This was basically to establish the unified market and political stability, because when the countries had same currency, the common currency, this could enable the countries to have free trade amongst themselves, and this could lead to political stability, because then their policies will also be in convergence and eliminate the possibility of devaluation or revaluation of currencies. So this was the basic purpose for establishment of European Union. So now functions of European Union. The countries that established the European Union had several goals, and what are these? To enhance Europe's power in international affairs and to make Europe a unified market, then to make Europe political, stable and peaceful. So now talk about the advantages of euro, because this was the result of European monetary system. It results in lower transaction cost, because if there is use of common currency euro, it eliminates the currency exchange fees from the cost of doing business between the European states. Whenever there is exchange of currency, okay, or conversion of currency, there is always an involvement of transaction cost. Like if I convert rupee into dollar or otherwise the vice versa, then I need to pay certain transaction cost regarding that. But if there is a common currency between the participating nations, then it led to the lower transaction cost. Price transparency. Companies were able to quickly compare prices with their competitors, because suppose if there are two countries and they are having different currencies, then to compare their prices they need to convert into other. अगर मुझे किसी अमेरिकन कंपनी से अपने प्रोडक्ट के प्राइसेस को कंपेयर करना है, तो मुझे सबसे पहले अपने प्राइसेस को और अमेरिका के प्राइसेस को इक्वेट करना पड़ेगा. बट इन केस ऑफ यूरोपियन मॉनेटरी सिस्टम देयर वाज नो नीड ऑफ एनी सच कंपैरिजन. सो इट encouraged a positive kind of competition and resulted in lower prices for consumer. Then is increased growth. By encouraging stability and efficiency through stable exchange rate, intra-union trade is expected to expand, and this stimulated economic growth and reduced the unemployment rate. And of course there was increased investment, because international investors were able to diversify their portfolio with euros, क्योंकि आपके पास बहुत सारे options हैं, क्योंकि countries की common currency है, so you could invest anywhere. And it led to the creation of a well developed financial market The European states wanted the euro to become one of the premier currencies in the international financial market alongside the dollar, because हम काफ़ी चीज़ बार ये पीछे डिस्कस कर चुके हैं that dollar was the dominating currency especially in the Bretton Woods system. So when euro came into existence, it led to the creation of a well developed financial market. Now coming to the second part, this we'll be discussing in the next lecture, levels or types of economic integration, because European monetary system actually was the result of economic integration. So this we'll be doing in the next video.